So I think today, oh, Asa, mm, Tuba Samba, Tuba Samba Gomba. So, um, Tuba, we went, wisdom. So, Sharab is wisdom, Hub is method. So, normally the combination of wisdom and method coming together is the path into the practice. So, mainly out of these two, uh, one cannot, what do we say, excel without the other. So the combination of these two become very, very important in practice, whether it be Dharma practice, whether it be daily life practice, whether it be any kind of practice. So the importance of being able to, what do we say, combine the two, I think in some sense is like a, what do we say, quality we need to develop, uh, especially towards the path to enlightenment. But not just the path to enlightenment, also in our daily life struggles, whether it be external suffering or internal suffering. Again, wisdom and method combination is very, very, very important. The more you keep track of how the development of wisdom and method come together, the more you are able to define how solidified the methods to overcome these are, especially within the external internal developments. I think most importantly is mental mind. So unlike a lot of other what we say other belief systems or philosophical systems, uh, the combination of these two go very well in the Buddhist through the development system development that taught, which is the Dharma. So within the Dharma, mainly we concentrate on the mind, and these are all methods to subdue the mind, not just subdue, but take control of our own mind. Without having control of the mind, then it's hard, right? It's hard. Forget about years. It's even hard to what we say, bypass one day. So subduing the mind becomes extreme uh, importance. And subduing the mind doesn't mean pushing down the mind to the point where you don't feel anything, you don't sense anything, you don't, not like that. Subduing the mind, I think, is being very, very, very skillful in how you control your mind. Uh, like I always mention, your mind is like your own child. The more you know uh, how to, what do we say, uh, how to nurture it, the better it grows. And the nurturing is in regards to growth, in regards to dealing, in regards to handling, in regards to, all kinds of measurements. So, uh, I think the method of, what do we say, Tesam Kumsum, Tuba hearing has to do with intent, what information we receive, and then Tuba, and then comes Samba, and through those what we have received, the experience, the knowledge, the whatever we have received, then comes Samba, which is contemplating. Some Simba is like the mind. Then Samba is like the process of the mind. So processing of the information that we receive, just like Buddha mentioned, uh, uh, that that he's not a, what do we say, uh, supreme lord or anything like that. He's a guide, and the information that he passes down, we have to experiment on it, and we need to see it and see if it's true or not, see if it's applicable or not. Then after seeing, when you see logic reasoning, when we see defining, when we see philosophy, meaningful philosophy, useful philosophy in it, then that's where we start really applying it. So komba, samba, yeah, samba. So then comes today we're talking about gomba, gom, uh, meditation, gom. These are the three, what we say, wisdoms, right? We call it wisdom, sherab. So through the wisdom, then uh, gomba, gomba, which is practice or meditate, which means initializing, right? Initializing into our framework, initializing. When something makes sense, that's when we start to act upon it, right? When something makes total sense, then that's when we start acting on it. That's when we start what do we say, embodying it. So embodying practice, that's the third method. So mainly meditation, I think we talked about last time, different kinds of meditations. Then to start everything off, I think the first one is to do with patience, meditation on patience. And then from there, contemplation, of course, and then from there, then initialization. So anyway, whichever method are useful, these are not, I mean, all of these methods don't have to be like one after another. It can be consistent. It can be, one together mixed with another. So if you look at the tenfold paths and the tantric path, then within one of the stages of the path, the application of all three come combined together. So Nyamsha, Jetop, yeah, Jetop, within the Jetop also, Jetop Nyamsha is meditative state, then Jetop is initializing state. So then comes, Pachimalam and Nyamsha Ishi, where you are using the method to negate obstacles, and then also using the method to contemplate wisdom, more wisdom. So the more wisdom, the more we are able to overcome things. I think main thing to overcome, especially internal mental conflicts, is through wisdom. We can't. There are momentary solutions to internal problems like medication and all of that, but like I said, it's momentary, very, very momentary, doesn't last. So more clear pathway for not momentary, but for complete negation of problems, of internal problems, is through application of wisdom. So this is why application becomes important. Just thinking and just hearing and just thinking and hearing and thinking and hearing, that's not good enough. So that's why the third method comes. And I think today is also the last day of this session. So we will try to combine everything today. Next week I'm free. So if you want to have a question answered next week in regards to this topic, maybe we can do that also. Uh, one week, and after that I have to leave. So then maybe we meet next time again. So anyway, with this, Sangye Chodam Soye Chonamla Chanjo Bado Dane Kyap Soje Dagezin Soye Besona Lola Benje Sangye Tu Bajo Sangye Chodam Soye Chonamla Chanjo Bado Dane Kyap Soje Dagezin Soye Besonamje Lola Benje Sangye Tu Bajo Sangye Chodam Soye Chon Chanjo Bado Dane Kyap Soje Dagezin Soye Besonamje Lola Benje Sangye Tu Bajo So I think we can go part by part. Um, so in what do we say, Bodhicharya Avatara, right? Bodhicharya Avatara, Shantideva mentioned study and reflect, remove what we say doubt. but also uh, what do we say? Meditation uproots ignorance. So meditative state is to uproot ignorance and to clarify, initializing, right? So I think this is where we are starting with. Also, I think you mentioned inside the Lamrim, Jelama Tsongkhapa mentioned meditation is where understanding of what we say, of the view of emptiness becomes experiential, right? When we are cutting through dualistic appearances, then we need to initialize. We can't just think, and just by thinking, dualistic appearances disappear like this. So main thing is through the meditation state. That's where the true nature of reality comes into what we say, comes into view. Not through understanding, but through experience. So this is why meditative state becomes important. Generally, what you talk say, what we say, conceptual knowledge and reflection, reflection on the conceptual knowledge that we already have, analytical processing of that, what we say, conceptual knowledge that we already gain. Without the meditation, then doesn't produce the non-conceptual wisdom. Yeah. So non-conceptual wisdom mainly coming from our initialization of what we say, of the meditation state. So whether it's conceptual, non-conceptual, or whatever, at the end of the day, we need to understand that through this method is what we are, through the method of initializing is where, I always say, you need conviction, you need conviction, you need conviction. So after the conviction, then what? And that's where the meditative state comes into action, right? You need to initialize. I tell you, oh, today, every morning you need to exercise because that's good for your health. Your heart beats faster, your movement becomes better, your blood flow better, more blood flow to the brain. So after I give you all of these reasons, and then you think about it, oh yeah, that really makes sense, then you need to initialize, right? Without initializing, then saying, oh yeah, exercising in the morning is good, just thinking like that, not productive. We don't see the results. We don't see results just by thought. We see results by action, and that's why initializing is where the part comes into the play. So when we're talking about meditative wisdom, I think Shine and Lakdong are the two main aspects of the meditation state, because Shine and Lakdong is used everywhere. Shine is what you call calm abiding, or they also call shamatha in Pali, Sanskrit, shamatha. Then Lakdong is Lakparthongwa means seeing more, is seeing beyond, and that one they call vipassana. So I think the two main methods of initializing is through vipassana and through calm abiding. Then we talk about the 9 stages of calm abiding, and then also through the 5 stages of vipassana. So these are the two important aspects of initializing, or embracing, or using the method of the what we say, wisdom state, meditative wisdom state. So uh, I think mainly through these focuses of shamatha and vipassana, the state comes into aspect. um, last session we talked about all the different uh, things that we can contemplate on. Yeah, we talked about so many different things. We talk about, of course, Four Noble Truth. We started from the Four Noble Truth. Then from the Four Noble Truth, we talk about the five areas of contemplation. We talk about nature of existence. We talk about what are the three, what do we say, the three, what is it, characters. Yeah, the three characters. Then the four foundations of mindfulness. We talk about the 7 factors of enlightenment. Then we also talk about the 8 noble paths. Then we talk about the four, what I say, Brahma Viras. Yeah. So, aggregates and so on and so forth. So these one, we all, all the what do we say, conceptual things that we can think about, whether it makes sense or not, how to use this. When we talk about the four noble truths, we are talking about the four noble truths, initialization of the four noble truths, not just in practice but in our daily life as well. Concept of uh, what we say, concept of impermanence, dependent origination, concept of the view of emptiness, and concept of the application of compassion. Why? For what reason? Yeah, we always start with the definition. Why? How do we define something? Yeah, contemplation starts with defining. Once you are able to define, then we are able to understand. Once we are able to understand, then we are able to apply. Then once we are able to apply, that's when we start to see results. So anyway, because we went through all of this, now comes what we say, initializing. So in the state of initializing, then we talk about the methods of initializing these, all of these different topics that we went through. So um, I think, like I said, the two methods, shamatha, what shamatha does is provides mental stability, the ability to stay, what we say, undistracted, right? Focused. So focus is important because for application, I think, without focus, application is hard. And one thing that we don't have nowadays is focus. Our what do you say, our time frame to be captured, our mind. I think they did some research. I think something like 5 seconds. TikTok. You heard about TikTok, right? TikTok did some kind of research, and they found out that our capacity to stay focused on something is 15 seconds. So now much less than what it used to be. So this is, I think, research I read somewhere. But then again, like I said, we cannot compare this with everyone. Of course, focus level is different with everyone. For some people, focus more. For some people, less. So, developing the stages of focus, developing the stages on how to focus, developing the stages of what to focus on. So these three things important. What to focus on? Uh, I think what is a contemplative wisdom. The stages of contemplating wisdom comes into play when we think about, oh, I want to meditate and I want to focus, but what do I focus on? What do I meditate on? How to, what are the topics? What are the, important topics? Not just important topics for Dharma, but for me. You see, I think one difference that a lot of people tend to not be able to define is the difference between you and Dharma. Of course, once you reach the bodhisattva state, once you reach the aryahood, once you reach the liberating state, once you reach a true, what is a conviction in this, in the view of emptiness, in the view of dependent origination, when you realize that when you are able to, what we say, convert the concept of dependent origination and embrace it like your conventional view. You start to see, we know that we have a conventional view. I see my computer, a conventional view of my computer. That's why the my is already stated inside the, my computer. I see my phone, I see my friends, I see, that this, then the conventional view is already there. So when you are able to see uh, the logic of dependent origination, the view of emptiness, uh, cause and condition, karma, uh, impermanence. When you're able to see this, just like you are able to see our conventional uh, appearance or view of things, then I think that is the point where you are able to really initialize things. Conviction is more clear at that state. Our ability to see this little bit, we lack that. It's not there yet, because when we look at something like dharma, we separate it from our conventional view. We think about it as an as an ultimate view. We think about this as the truth, as the truth that we are unable to see. Yeah. We look at it and we say, yeah, it's the truth, but I'm unable to see that. So you're already differentiating between the two, right? The differentiating the fine line between the two. So I think that is one point of what we say of capturing, where you actually achieve some kind of if not effortless, at least some kind of effortful realization of the what we say of the dharma itself. Yeah. So anyway, coming back to the point, the defining of the two between dharma and my life, this has always been there. Yeah, maybe not to everyone, but when I look at something, uh, the differentiation is there. You look at your life, you look at what you're doing each day, work here, work there, expectation here, friends there, meeting here, lunch here, dinner there. So you have these things. Then you're always differentiating, oh, when is the time that I need to practice my Dharma time? Yeah, so that is always separate there. So I think one thing is when we are able to not separate those two things, and those two things start to combine, start to join together, start to what we say together. That's I think one clicking point where you need to say, okay, now really strong conviction is there. Until then, contemplation is very, very, very important, because without contemplation, then that joining is not going to be there. It's the glue to join these two things together is, I think, contemplation. So coming back to the point, uh, uh, method to apply what we say wisdom, meditative state is starts, I think, first thing starts when you are able to not define the differentiation between the two, but start to see the initialization of the two together, right? That's why we say, what do we say, tapshe sunde is method and wisdom coming together. And this is, I think, the pinnacle of where wisdom, where this mashup happens. So this is why I think first thing every time we think about dharma, this has to be there. That we are not differentiating between the two. That the two are always uh, combined together, and this is one thing we need to understand. Second thing is when we are combining these two things together, uh, first thought that comes into the mind is, okay, I need to practice because of some reason that someone gave, and that reason is not out of conviction. That reason is out of faith, out of whatever other reason, but just not through conviction. Then I think that's where the second real contemplation needs to happen, that it's the conviction that you need that brings these two together. It's not the conviction that the lama or the guru or the teacher or whoever it is says, oh yeah, this is what true nature is. Someone comes to you and says, oh yeah, this is the true nature of things. And how are you going to contemplate based on the understanding of this combination? You cannot. This you can try, but this won't work, because conviction, like I said, has to come from your own experiential conviction, right? This is where the real glue is. So I think that's the second point. Then the third point is application. When it comes to application, then the methods that we use always have to be the methods that are sustainable for us. You cannot, like I said, you cannot define Buddhism as something completely different from yourself. Yeah, you cannot define the methods of the application of the Dharma completely different from yourself. You cannot. The moment you do this, then you are making time on the side to do something different. Then when you are doing something non-dharma, then all your conceptual views are all shaken up. when you're doing business, then you're cheating, lying, scamming, and all of that's happening on the side. Then in the afternoon and in the morning, you take time off to do some prayer. At that time, the mindset is right. Then you're juggling between the two balls, where you are saying, oh, sometimes you are saying this is higher, sometimes you're saying this is higher. We are building a pattern in our karmic chain or consistent cause and conditional consistency in moving these two up and down, then development is not going to come. So I think these 3 points a little bit more important when it comes to initialization. Then I think special insight. Special insight is your ability to see beyond what you already see. Through calm abiding, what we are able to see is we are able to see the true nature of the flow of the mind. True nature, not just the flow of the mind, but the true nature of the flow of the mind when it sees impermanence, when it sees the true nature of reality, when it sees the the application of dependent origination, when it sees the indifference of renunciation, samsara, yeah, duje khoa jempungbo, duje, what do we say, contaminated phenomena, impermanence, samsara. When you see your mind flowing in the rhythm of understanding these things, and does it make sense? Our mind reacts differently to different things. Yeah. when we are when we are thinking dharma and someone says a bad word to us, our mind reacts differently. When you're not thinking dharma, when you're thinking me, and someone says something bad to you, then again our mind reacts differently. So this is the flow of our mind. Yeah, the initial flow of our mind is, the brush stroke of the mind always happens based on the thought process. So this is why karma biting is like the stroke of the brush based on the concept of all of this that we talked about on the last session. All the topics, contemplative topics, starting from the Four Noble Truths all the way to true nature of reality. So starting from the Four Noble Truths initialization, depend what we say, renunciation, all the way to the view of emptiness, the true nature of reality. So you have so many things condensed in that. So calm abiding, once you apply, like let's say if I give you one example, it will be the example, let's say easy example, let's say something like renunciation, or let's say something like the Four Noble Truths or samsara itself, right? So if you look at samsara and you see suffering, the nature of samsara it being suffering, when you see consistency of the cyclic, what we say, movement, karmic movement throughout, not just 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, but from life to life, when when you're contemplating that, and then you are facing a problem, your brush strokes uh, on the canvas of the problem is different, completely different. Yeah, then agitation, uh, what we say, all the different instabilities of the thought process, those ones tend to disappear most cases. uh, Way that we deal with also, forgiveness also comes easier, as well as patience also comes easier. And this is something we realize, I think. If you really look through it, you will actually realize these things. So these things are there. um Second thing, uh, when we are not contemplating all of this and the thought process is not there, then of course the patient level is very, very, very low. Yeah, the grasping attitude, of course, very stronger, much more stronger there. Then our initial reaction towards this is also completely different. So so just as an example, so that's how the stroke works. And through what do we say, shamatha, through calm abiding, you're able to maintain these strokes in the flow of the understanding. Yeah, you're able to maintain your mind stream or mind flow within the understanding of all of this, within the understanding of Dharma. So that is the main, I think, concept when it comes to calm abiding. Then, especially inside when you what is it, lakpa thongwa, lakpa means beyond or more, and thongwa is ability to see, yeah, ability to conceive. So your ability to conceive beyond that only happens when you are able to see that, right? So that's why vipassana always comes after shamatha, right? So these two practice like that. So what do we say, vipassana investigates phenomena with what we say, with uh, penetrative uh, clarity, insight. Yeah, so this is what vipassana is there. Then, of course, only then these are only after the process of these two, then the unification of these two come together, and then that's where the third wisdom of initializing or embracing starts to happen. Yeah. So, through this, I think one thing that we need to process on is the difference, or not the difference, but the two parts of conceptual and non-conceptual wisdom. Yeah, uh, we say tokpa. Tokpa is like, what is tokpa in English? Tokpa is like to perceive, to be able to, you know, conceptualize consciousness. Yeah, conceptual consciousness, something like that. So first two wisdoms remain bound by the first two wisdoms. Yeah, hearing and contemplation is bound by conceptual consciousness. Yeah, tokpa. Then the third wisdom, what we say, matures into yogic direct perception. We say, right, yogic direct perception, I think we call it in English. uh, Sorry about the terminology, my terminology sometime all over the place. But yeah, yogic direct perception. So seeing emptiness, or the nature of reality without reliance on concepts, being able to perceive the nature of reality or the view of emptiness. Lakbikuru, we say. Lakbikuru is the example we say is like in your own, like when you have something in the palm of your hand, then you are able to see it from all directions. You know, you want to look it from up, from below, from side. You know, it's like very solidified. You know, if I put uh, something in your hand, in the palm of your hand, and you look at it, and because you can feel it, you can smell it, you can sense it, all of your senses are very in tune with it, your capability to understanding it becomes much more stronger. So something like that, right? So uh, because the three wisdom, what we say, the three wisdom, the differentiation between the three wisdom is based on this difference. So therefore I think the application of this, what we say, this method, whether you are, whether you view something conceptually or non-conceptually, and this relies a lot on the application of the three wisdoms. Non-conceptual understanding is something that we need to, what we say, uh, come to the point where we are able to capture it in that essence, right? So yeah, um, so that one. Then uh, what we say, the stages, what we say, described in the different topics of lamrim, whether it be analytical meditation, placement meditation, then non-conceptual absorption, so on and so forth. These ones also come in the state of meditation, right? So what, refining whatever stage you are, like I said, once you go through the concept of shamatha, and you are able to bring your mind to the state of the flow, or when you're able to put your mind in the stages where it's able to flow based on the understanding of the dharma you have, then your what do we say, your conceptual view in applying it also what we say, moves forward in that same, in that category, sort of same rhythm. So stabilizing insight gained from reflection, that's one thing. I think stable, analytical meditation, that's what analytical meditation does. And then of course placement meditation, sustaining that understanding of single pointed concentration. So once you develop that, then sustaining it is also important, because without sustaining it, the process of maturing doesn't happen, right? You need to sustain in order to mature. Same as our body, yeah. When you have a body, then if you are not what we say, sustaining the body, then the maturity of the body doesn't happen. So sustaining becomes, I think, the second level of building on top of that. Then placement, then sustaining, uh, uh, through the sustaining of it, then understanding in single pointed concentration, that one develops into non-conceptual absorption, right? So you're able to absorb the non-conceptual view, or apply the wisdom that dawns, what we say, not through words, not through thoughts, but really understanding something. Yeah. In the example used in the Lamrim, they call it, I don't know if it's true or not, but they say you can feel something in, or in your bones or something like that. Is there an English phrase or something like that? You can feel it in your bones. It's not, it's like, like crafted in the core of everything, sort of thing. So that kind of understanding, I think, the Lovely describes that kind of understanding. I cannot picture uh, I've never, I think maybe someone who has maybe had broken bones, fractures in their life, maybe they can understand that a little bit better, an understanding of the essence inside the bones. Um, but I don't know, for me, I can't really picture that. But that's the example that's used. Feel it from the core of your bones or something like that. So anyway, so that kind of, I think, that kind of understanding of non-conceptual view starts to appear. Then what happens through that is, I think, even same concept is used to describe bodhicitta. When you have very strong bodhicitta, then uh, they say same thing, you can feel it in the core of your bones, from uh, anyway. So they explain it in the same way, and in the nature of it, we say "Ming ne chima tong lugi babu tang." So sometime when it feels a little bit cold, then we start to shiver, and then we have what do you call goosebumps. So goosebumps start to appear where your spine is. Then is like tua is like tears naturally, without sadness, without that, just tears start to flow out down your cheeks, out of your eyes, very very naturally. It's not a state of frustration, anger, sadness, that this is not triggered by all of that, but just natural flow of, so these descriptions are there. So anyway, um, I think when His Holiness teaches, I've seen that many, many, many times. When we were younger, we used to think these people are a little bit cuckoo in their mind. They sit hands like this, and there's a tear coming out. Then when we were younger, we used to think, oh, there's a little bit something wrong with them. Up here. But now, you really think about it, when you're initializing something, when you're truly from in depth initializing something that really makes such a onto the skill of your life, onto the difference in your life, then this is very very natural that happens. So anyway, coming back to that, I think, yeah. So even in the development of bodhicitta, similar things tend to happen. So So meditated wisdom without compassion also incomplete, right? So we need meditate. So in order to develop the meditation stage, especially in the stages of vipassana, bodhicitta becomes very, 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 very important. Yeah, compassion. Uh, I think I had some discussion whether compassion is bodhicitta or not last time, and then they sort of like convinced me that compassion is not bodhicitta. uh, that's why His Holiness calls it the supreme wisdom. So we're going to call it the supreme wisdom. So what to say, meditative wisdom without supreme wisdom is also incomplete. um, in the Mayan text, the third wisdom is what we say cultivated alongside the bodhicitta, because of the mindset. Ayana, Hinayana, Theravada. That's this. Is of the day. The practice is based on three principal aspects of the path, no matter what. Um as long as it's an importance to you. So anyway, this is what the Madhyamika, not Madhyamika, Mahayana text explains it in the categorization of. So that ensures that realization is not self-centered but dedicated to, as we say, all mother sentient beings. Yeah. So that one, I think that is a choice, whether you want to go to that point or not. I think it's definitely a choice. Uh, I always say uh, we have a hard time contemplating and initializing all mother sentient beings, and that has been such a big focus that and it's such importance. And of course, it's very, very important too. But without the right mindset, without your mind being ready to contemplate in that vastness, becomes a little bit hard. Then we tend to try beyond our capability. Yeah. When we tend to try beyond our capability and our capability is not there, then sometimes instead of becoming in a path, then it becomes an obstacle. So very uh, yeah, we need to be aware where our mind is, what state our mind is, and whether we are able to contemplate to that vastness. If your mind is ready and you're able to contemplate to that vastness, then of course bodhicitta is wow, so amazing. And it, of course, the path to enlightenment, you're already taking a very shortcut towards enlightenment. But without your mind being ready, then instead of becoming a short path, then it actually can become a much more longer path than we estimate. So sometimes calculate our mind is not ready and we try. We are very calculative beings, so we like to calculate things. Then our miscalculation starts to happen. uh, so we don't want to be there. So just be aware that because we don't want to be in the miscalculating part, that just be ready if your mind is ready for the supreme emotion or not. Supreme emotion is developed through the, what do we say, so it's the seven stages of development of compassion. So there's always different stages that you can concentrate on based on the level of your mind, or the based on the how much our mind is able to take. So again, practice on that. So in the Lamrim mentioned, just as one cannot cut through tree by only thinking of an, what do you say, tari. Tari is what do you call that? Saw, not saw. What is it? Axe. So just as one cannot cut a tree by thinking of an axe. So you think of an axe doesn't mean you can cut a tree, right? So similarly, what is it? One cannot cut ignorance by merely hearing and reflecting on it. You know, only meditative wisdom. Uh, you apply, then you are able to cut the roots of cyclic existence. So that is mentioned very clearly in the Lamrim, and the example I think makes a lot of sense. So this is why what we say, hearing wisdom and complete what's it, contemplative wisdom is not enough. This is why practical application wisdom, what is a meditative wisdom, needs to come into play. So uh, different sources mention different things everywhere. Even the what we say uh, Sarvaka sources, the Sarvaka Abhidharma Kosh, we call it, right? Abhidharma Kosh. So even in the Abhidharma Kosh is very particularly emphasized as the actual antidote to afflictions, while hearing and reflection are what we say sort of like what is it, preparing, yeah, where you prepare for this. So that is mentioned. And then I think one thing, there's many different qualities in the application of the third wisdom. One thing is that it's very direct. Yeah, no, what do you say, no bullshit. No bullshitting around, so very direct. Second thing is very vivid, it's clear. And then also what do we say, the understanding, the knowing part, because clear and understanding, as we talked about it earlier, is the definition of the mind. So because it's clear and understanding, the stable knowing is also, your mind has to be in the state of stable knowing, yeah, in the stages of not being afflicted. So therefore contemplation on the non-affliction part only happens in the stage of clear knowing, stable, not clearness, stable knowing. So that's why that's also one particular wisdom, or one particular the quality of the third wisdom that normally in the Abhidhamma Kosh described in the Abhidhamma Kosh. Then about what we say, appliance, then of course brings appliance, through the appliance then brings qualities such as uh, what we say, consistent, being able to consistently be focused on something, being able to it's like watching a movie, right? You watch a movie, then if the movie is good, then 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. What do you call it? Um, what did they call it? Movie marathon. You heard about movie marathons. So when the story is very very good, that people they movie marathon. Yeah, they watch series. 25, 50 series. They watch one after another. They eat there. They sleep there. They maybe don't need to sleep. They drink there. Then they marathon. So something like that. Initializing. Being able to consistently be focused and initialize at the same time. So that, of course, then through that, then comes a profound joy. There's a result, right? Profound joy comes through that, because you enjoy watching the series, you enjoy watching the movies. The difference is, after watching 10 hours of the movie and the story, you know the story, then you think back and then you think, I could have used that 10 hours to do something completely more productive. When you put your effort into what is special insight, when you put your effort into shamatha and vipassana, then you backtrack, you rethink, you recall. I don't think you'll have that feeling of saying, oh, I should have used my time for better purposes, because there's no other better purpose than that. Yeah, that's why the joy more consistent. So I think being able to resemble the wisdom of the Buddhas through through still being on the path. So that is the main what we say, flow of it. Yeah. So that is there. Then cultivative wisdom. I think what we say, bhavana in Sanskrit. Uh, I think also in Pali they call it bhavana. Is to do to what we say, to bring together, to cultivate, bring into being, sort of thing, to make grow. Yeah. So this word bhavana is used a lot in cultivation of fields and stuff like that. So yeah, so this is where cultivative wisdom comes into play. And generally, I think it's not passive but continuous cultivation until realization. uh, the realization becomes more what we say spontaneous, and I think that's the goal, right? At the end of the day, every practice, every single practice that you're focusing on is meant, the whole goal is to meant, the whole goal of it is to make it spontaneous. We don't want 10 different reasons to do something. I think one reason why this happens is maybe because laziness. Yeah, we have laziness in us, nature of the mind, dullness. Yeah, what we say, ignorance, dullness, and laziness. So that's why we want that state, and that state is something that we continuously desire towards the spontaneousness. But also spontaneousness also shows that we have a lot of wisdom and a lot of understanding also. So it can go both ways. Uh, if it's out of laziness, then don't do it out of laziness. But if it is because the application of wisdom, then definitely spontaneous is something that we want to focus towards and aim towards achieving. So far we are good, making sense. Yes, enjoying. So yeah, so spontaneousness. Then, unlike listening and reflecting, uh, which can fade, this happens a lot. I think with, when I was in Sera, then I go maybe every day, nearly every day, 6 days a week. I go up to uh, the previous Kanditisur Rinpoche, my teacher, Losang Denze. I used to go to him to receive PT. We say PT is like a philosophy lecture sort of thing. Then you receive, and then you go. Then after that, we have to memorize, and then we have this and we have that, and the whole day, about different things. Then in the afternoon at the debate, when we come to the debate courtyard and we need to debate on that topic, then everything is nothing is there anymore, only bits and pieces. Yeah. So my teacher used to say, I'm giving you a pot here, and when you reach the debate courtyard, the pot is smashed already. Bits and pieces everywhere. You don't have the whole pot anymore. So that's what my teacher used to say. So listening and contemplating something like that. If we think about it, it doesn't. If you think about your life, for example, you met teachers, you went to His Holiness teaching, Kyabje Lama Thupten Zoba Rinpoche teaching, that teaching, this teaching, then online, lot. But then all the what do we say, all the contemplation of the teachings is all scattered around. Yeah, so that happens a lot. So unlike the third wisdom, is unlike the first two, it's not scattered, it's very focused. It tends to it tends to teach you to rebuild the pot. So that's one reason why it's very very what do we say, unlike the first two wisdoms. Yeah. So, uh, uh, so mostly, what do you say? Eh, Engrave, right? I think that's the word. So engrave. If you write on the sand on the beach, on the water, on a waterside beach, then when the water comes, then it fades away. But engraving, you don't say I'm engraving in the sand. You say, I'm writing on the sand. Engraving happens on the stone, right? Then no matter how much time the water comes, it actually makes it more shiny and more silky and more visible in some ways. So wisdom is very similar to engraving, mentioned in the what do we say, uh, Madhyamika Avatara. They say engrave. That's the word it uses to describe wisdom. So engrave uh, into the mind, right? So this is where the third wisdom becomes very very important. So and then again, without meditation and without knowledge, what was it? Without meditation, knowledge sort of like becomes external and unstable. And then, of course, intellectual understanding can even increase and what do we say, increase, sort of like become pride. So this is, I think, we start to see this a lot in a lot of students who who don't initialize. Then, I've seen this a lot. There's a lot of competition. I've done this much retreat, I've done this much mantra, I've done this much prayer, I've done this, that, I've done. Then there's a lot of competition. Then slowly, slowly, the engraving disappear, and then becomes a pride. And then, of course, through pride, then there's always jealousy, right? Then the newer students, the younger ones, then more jealous. Then the older ones, then more pride. Then then it becomes like normal, what do you say, normal, uh, uh, normal worldly sort of thing, and we are used to it. Yes, we are competing everywhere since we are very young. In school we are competing, in college we are competing, then we are competing to get who gets the better husband, who gets the better wife, then who gets the better job. So we're used to it. But then, in Dharma, we cannot do that. Right. The whole appearance of these things don't happen through that. So of course we don't want to go into the state of pride and doubt. So this is something we need to be aware of, especially in the application of the wisdom. This mentioned in the again mentioned in the Lamrim, as well as Abhisamaya and Madhyamika. So that is that. I think balance between initializing and knowing the right method to initialize, meaning staying aware of our state of mind every time we are applying the wisdoms. Then only meditation makes wisdom, what we say, transformative, right? That's, I think, it changes habits, it changes perception, then also it changes identity within us. So every time uh, I give talks at Kupan, after the course they do, then I say, whether so much information received, then, and at the end of the day is realizing whether you have changed or not, whether your identity, whether your behavior, whether your thought process has changed or not. I think that's the biggest difference that we are looking towards, right? So every time we have a course, every time someone does a retreat, every time, one of the first things that I always think people should look at is the difference in the change. Not external change, not how people look at us. I mean, this is what we tend to look for, is okay, I've done this retreat now, and then we go around telling people, oh, I've done this retreat, I've done that retreat, and then we expect people say, oh, very good, very nice, oh, now you are so understanding. But in reality it's inward, right? Inward change, whether the mental state that you were in has changed or not, whether if there is doubt, it has clarified or not, whether if you have what we say, mental habituations that are not very, what do we say, that are very harmful to your life, to the process of life, whether that has changed or not, whether your character has changed or not. So these are more important things that we need to look towards when we are practicing. So again, one thing is, we're looking for is, what we say, is development towards that side. um so yeah, so through that, I think the main, these are, I think, these are things that we need to look towards in the practice. Sorry, tea time. So now that we know what we are aiming for, what the goal is, what the method, I mean the systematic flow of the mind is, then we come back to calm abiding. Like I explained, calm abiding is learning to initialize your dharma thought process into the stroke of your mind flow, the rhythm of your mind. So that is the main idea of calm abiding. Then through that goal, in that I think the goal is to develop a mind that is stable, that is plain, that is joyful, and then also free from distraction, and serving and foundation for what we say, the special insight. Yeah, so this is the goal. Then what we say, they, of course, there's the ethical discipline, and in that I think a calm mind is very important. I mean, every stage of practice, the calm mind uh, sort of like is sort of like a moral foundation in building all of that. Then I think uh, whether, I think last time also we mentioned when we were talking about meditation, whether some people like secluded places, some people, because there's less, what do we say, less distraction, and there's more peace, more tranquility. So this one, I think it depends a lot on the mind, right? Where, how you prefer, and where your most productiveness happens. I think this is one thing where feng shui comes into play also. External energy, they call it, right? So, uh, in similar to feng shui and Buddhism, also, I mean, in Tibetan, not Buddhism, but in Tibetan psychology, there's also means and methods that you can change. I always tell my mom has a very messy place, so I always tell her, clean up this, because I like clean. So I say you need to clean up. When if your house is clean, then your mind is more happy. Your mind is more stable. You look around, everything is clean. Everything's dirty, then you come. There's frustration. You look here, it's dirty. You look there, it's dirty. Then you need to clean. You don't have time to clean. Then what's the point? So I think environmental, what we say, these things do matter in our internal. So basically external conditions do matter in our internal, what we say, internal uh, uh, goal to achieve, internal stabilization. So external, if there's no external stabilization, the internal stabilization becomes a little bit hard also. So nowadays, big issue coming up in regards to, because inflation going up, then everything more dependent on external conditions. Unlike, because my teacher always use example of Tibet, in those days in Tibet, then I say, but in those days in Tibet, inflation was not so high as it is right now. And in those days in Tibet, it wasn't like everything mattered. Money mattered. Money was the basic, what do you say, necessary thing. So time changes, right? And then also with time, I think these things also, internal conditions also change. So um, uh, I think now we are becoming more used to the idea where Novik people are striving to achieve external liberation in some sense. Starting businesses, starting that, starting this, understandable. And even his holiness encourages monasteries not to depend, what we say, formally, not to fully depend on what we say, on sponsorship, but also to be sustainable, have their own means so these things, changes are starting to happen. When Buddha was alive, the kings of the past they say they used to offer the Buddha, land and that and this and everything, food and whatever basic necessities. And nowadays also in the monastery you do puja, we offer money, basic necessities, but then still, because of the inflation rate, these things, there's little changes. I don't know why this all this came up. What are you talking about? Oh yeah, external conditions. So yeah, so When it comes to practice, external conditions matter, no? And therefore, you need to personally figure out what kind of external conditions work for you to be able to uh, become the most productive. And that's why I think balance also very, very important, whether it be foundation in balancing external conditions to be able to support your internal, what do we say, achievements, right? Of course, if you go into the yogic tantric practice, then these things don't matter. Even in the bodhisattva's path, these things don't matter. Like we discussed in the last session, when your mind is at the right state, when your mind is at the state of the bodhisattvas, then even giving up your own flesh to feed or to doesn't become a problem. It's not an obstacle anymore. But until then, until your mind is at that state, we need external conditions to be right. So like I said, even though it's mentioned in the what is the yogic practice and in the tantric practices in regards to letting go and all of that, even those are mentioned, we cannot expect our mind to completely embrace it at this point, especially if you are not a fully, what do we say, in that state of practice. So your practice matters a lot based on your mindset. So I think these things are there. Then the placement of, then I think mainly uh, focusing on what do we say, the breath. Yeah. Then focusing on visualization. These are different methods of practice also, in order to bring your mind state to full concentration. Then observing the mind itself. I mean, the methods we talked about, especially in regards to what stages the mind is in, then the practice also develops in that method. So now, I think developing vipassana, I mean not vipassana, shamatha, completes in the stages of the nine stages of the mind. So. Uh, um, in regards to that, I think in English Buddhist terminology, they call it the placement of the mind is the first stage. So placement of the mind, then what is the continuous placement, then of course what we say, fully placement or something like that, then close placement, then taming, pacifying, of course, then through pacifying, then single pointedness, then through single pointedness and placement, then comes, what do we say, balance. So at the end of the day, the whole perception is to achieve balance in the mind. Yeah, I think now if we look at our mind when we are meditating, when we are sitting and we are meditating, and you look within our mind, we see sometimes it's blank. Yeah, a lot of people, they feel that their minds are blank when they're told to sit down and what do we say, reflect on the mind, then they see it's blank. What am I supposed to think about? Then for some people there's issues, then whatever is stressing them out, these things tend to pop up most of the time. So uh, these are different, like I said, different example, different mindset, different things that come up. Then for some people, if they're more concentrated, then they're able to really reflect on the mind. They take deep breaths and reflect on the mind. When the reflection happens, if it's in the state of complete voidness, like there's nothing in the mind, like like you close your eyes, you think about it and you think, what am I supposed to think about? And there's nothing up there. Then you realize that the mind, that you need to be able to pinpoint or guide the mind to think about something. Yeah. That's one point. If it's blank, if it's stressing out about something, then if you are unable to bring the mind towards the calmness or the state of being able to focus, then you start to work on the things that are externally disturbing your mind, right? These are things, like I said, if your mind is not ready to develop in the stages of the path, then there is a reason, of course. This is where the Four Noble Truths come into play, right? There is a reason behind why it's not able to contemplate. There's a reason why it's not able to be in that placement. So now you start to think, okay, why is my mind not in that, not ready to be in the placement stages of the placement. So in that state, what happens is the process of working on the external bit of the conflict that is disturbing your mind, that's where it starts to happen. So you need to work on that also. If your mind is able to focus, then you first thing is you always check your mind, because it's able to focus, whether there is pride or not, whether there is self cherishing views within those small gaps of focus. Because you say, okay, my mind is clear. This is what happens a lot of times. You sit down, okay, my mind is very clear. I have no external problems that are disturbing my mind. I'm able to focus. I'm in a great place, maybe in a five-star luxury resort in some, some secluded area in the jungle where I have my own fridge and I have, uh, there are no external problems. I have a very soft cushion, good bed. Then sometimes pride, oh yeah, starts to arise. Yeah, so these things also you need to contemplate in order to see, because with the pride you cannot come to that foundation of placement. So again, this is another thought process that needs to be focused on. Yeah, sometimes our external conditions are too good, too what we say, too luxurious, that the mind starts to focus on different things. Again, now another thing is, if the mind is in the state of total awareness, and the total awareness comes, what we say, from the wisdom you have, and the wisdom you have comes from, let's say, something like uh, the first two wisdoms, right? The contemplation. And now you start to, and then you look at your mind and you see that your mind is at the stage where it is, what we say, modest, the stage where it is humble, yeah, humbling humbling state. Yeah, humble state, where modest,
Humility.
yeah, humility, state of humility. When your mind is at the state of humility, now then you start to see that the conditional factors around where you can develop shamatha, very, 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 very clear and right. You're at the right stage. So, make sense so far? Yeah. So then comes the second point of development. Now you can proceed into the spectrums, or the different aspects of the placements of the mind. And then the placements of the mind, if I put on an object, its focus. First thing, I think the first four of the nine stages are in regards to focus, placement, continuity, then what we say, fixing, then again close placement. These four are mostly focused on developing focus. So let's take renunciation, for example. So placement of renunciation is understanding renunciation. Contemplation is of course happening, but then contemplation together with the infusion of initialization, right? So renunciation, external renunciation, I think not so hard, because you look externally. I think external renunciation a lot of people have, because when they see war, when they see famine, when they see disease, when they see disasters, then these kind of external renunciations tend to happen a lot. Oh, we need to make a huge difference. We need to help the people there. We need to do this. We need to do that. So that is there. But then again, the willingness to fight with others in order to gain these things, these are also there. Whether that's the right method or wrong method, that one is something we need to, uh, what we say, we need to work on, right? if I am, let's say if there's a war between two countries, and then I'm taking sides. First thing, I'm taking sides. Second thing, I'm seeing things from one perspective and not looking to another perspective. Then our judgment of the whole conflict is based on a perception that we have. That perception is again conventional. It's from our own perspective. It's nothing non-conventional. So you need to bring it down to the state of conventionality, right? So that's why the self initialization of the aspect of that whole thing, that needs to be engraved into the mind. That's where the first four placement starts to happen. We good so far? Make sense? Then after that, once we start that, then we see that our mind, again, seeing things from a conventional view. When you start seeing things from a conventional view, then you start to notice, oh, I need to start taming my mind because my mind is viewing things on a conventional perspective. I say, oh yeah, I say, let's say two people have a problem, something like, Tony and Peter have a problem there. Then I say, okay, I'm taking sides with Tony because what Tony did was wrong. I mean, right, and what Peter did was wrong, and that, and this, and then the blame starts to happen on Peter, and then this. So I'm building a whole perception around it. Yeah, this is conventional perception. Now, my non-conventional perception is, like I said, every time I give you a reason, my perception changes. I say, okay, Tony did this to Peter because Peter, did this to Tony in the past. Now your perception starts to change again. So this is the whole conceptual initialization of being able to bring your mind to non-duality, right? The state of non-conventional aspect of things. I say, in the text, Madhyamika Avatara mentioned when you are able to look at things from all 10 different directions, that's when you are able to be able to. I think nowadays you have what we say, mm, mm, what do you call that? 3D something, 3D. They make things in 3D. Yeah. So when they're making things in the 3D, then in the computer, if you don't have the full image of the whole thing, back and out and in and everything, then that building cannot happen, right? So same thing, aspect of understanding something happens in that category of understanding it from all different perspectives. Not duality, I think sometimes sort of like in that same category. So if you start to see things in regards to renunciation, if you start to see things in regards to conflicts of what we say, conventional view or placement of the view from your own single pointed, your own self-centered single pointed view, then comes taming and pacifying, right? Without that, then what are you taming, what are you pacifying? So the pacifying and the taming part has to do with the conflicts that you start to see, that block the, what do we say, non-conceptual views, right? So taming and pacifying, then through that taming and pacifying, then you start to understand the whole image of renunciation. So you look at renunciation, you look at renunciation of others, external renunciation, you start to see, then you start to see internal conflicts that happen based on external renunciation. And I think this one is quite clear in social media. Yeah, now you have, what is it, uh, Israel and Palestine conflict. Then you go to social media and you read through the comments, you start to see different views from different supporters. Oh yeah, Israel is right. Oh yeah, Palestine is right. Oh yeah, Israel did the right thing. Oh yeah, Palestine did the right thing. Then you have, then you have a motivational, what we say, support in regards to what is happening right there. I don't know if this is uh fragile fragile topic, but anyway, I'm bringing this out as an example, right? So think about that. You see different conflicts happening from different sides, and then the different aspects of how different things are seen from different aspects. And then you look at your mind, what you are supporting, where you are supporting, how you are supporting, what is the true initiative behind the support that you are giving. Now comes the real digging within the perceptional part of your own mindset. Yeah, at the end of the day, we look at things, human on both sides, nations on both sides. Uh, if you look from a wider angle, both are in samsara. Yeah, both, whether you're from Palestine, whether you're from Israel, at the end of the day, state of peace, state of mind of peace on both sides needed. Yeah, so these are more, you're able to see it more from a non-conventional aspect of things, right? So this is, I think, where the real, what we say, taming and pacifying starts to happen. It needs to happen within ourselves. No matter how much we point fingers at others and say, oh yeah, blaming and that and this, at the end of the day, it's our perception that makes these things sort of like happen. Us view these things. So yeah, so then of course, uh, especially in regards to this, then we use the six powers. We use the power of hearing, reflecting, mindfulness, vigilance, effort, and familiarity. Then of course there's the eight antidotes to that as well. Then I think within the eight, what we say, eight antidotes, then also uh, countering, uh, what do we say, laziness and excitement. These two, I think, added on top of that. Yeah, so this is again mindfulness, state of mindfulness. And then of course mind and the body become, what we say, uh, servables, right? The application of those. And then I think clarity, mind resets, the mind resetting to effortless in the ability to see these things from a non-conventional view, that becomes bliss and clarity. Yeah, so shamatha, aspect of shamatha. What else? So yeah, so the nine stages. Then once you reach there, we are able, our ability to see things from a non-conventional view sort of like becomes much more clearer in the state that we are able to view things not from one perspective, not from a self-centered perspective, not from a, global perspective, but a very neutral ability to understand things in its own nature. Right, the true nature of reality, that's what we call it. Whether you want to apply the view of emptiness or not, I mean, that is again dependent on the stages of your mind. Your ability depends on yourself, so again depending on that. But then the application, yeah, anyway, my time is time is moving fast. So anyway, we can, second point, we come down to vipassana, right? So the vipassana ability to see beyond what is already seen through the application of shamatha. So penetrative seeing into the nature of phenomena, especially emptiness and dependent origination. So now you are consistently building what you have already seen through this method, shamatha method, what you have already seen into a more, what we say, stable and more investigative state. Then the logics that are applied are more in tune with the view of emptiness and dependent origination. So whether you want to use dependent origination and the view of emptiness in the state of shamatha or in the state of vipassana, doesn't matter. Vipassana, your ability to see beyond it, yeah, beyond the state. So um I think in Lamrim uh, uh, and Yogacara, they explain uh, uh, what we say, selective object of insight, what we say, through the uh, what we say, contemplation of impermanence, selflessness, emptiness, and dependent origination. These are the, I think, the four main sources of implication when it comes to uh, uh, vipassana. Yeah. Then I think use reasoning, analysis, what do we say, analysis of the self, right? This is the main point of analysis. It's not external. We always thinking when we are applying dependent origination, when we're applying the view of emptiness, when we're applying emptiness, we are very good at seeing others, and this is one thing we tend to do. We are good at judging. And this is, we are good at judging others because of our ability to see external and not ability to see internal. So this sort of like the practice of vipassana sort of turns the table around and gives us the opportunity to analyze the self, right? Analyze the self more independent, what do you say, more independently of external conditions. So that is there. Then external conditions, of course, we talk about in Buddhism, we're talking about karma, and we're talking about, you know, the different stages of karma. There's different states of karma, different levels of karma, and these are what external stages are normally defined by, because this is what, you know, conditions create. If I leave my house clean, then, you know, this is a conditional state that I create in order to live in. If you know, create a, if I don't clean, if I'm messy, then, you know, there's the external conditions that that I put myself in some sense. So these are just, I think these are more products of the past, not something to focus on. Developing is more in the future. So again, another point when it comes to uh, what do we say, vipassana is focused on the concept of future, focus on the concept of development in that sense. So contemplate, mainly contemplate causes in order to see what are the causes that you can create leading to the future, not to give you depression and anxiety because you have done something wrong in the past. so so if we have that kind of state where we are always contemplating on the past, contemplating on the past, contemplating on the past, but then that contemplation is not used in order to what do we say, initiate things that happen in the future, then contemplation is pretty much useless, because, you know, the past, you cannot change the past in that sense. So the contemplation becomes useless. More, contemplation of the past is mainly, the whole concept of contemplation of the past is mainly in order to be able to fix or know what kind of conditions or causes you can create in regards to leading to the future, development in the future, enlightenment, you know, that sort of thing. So I think this is where the shift starts to happen, right? Mm, so contemplate aspects, mainly I think dependent origination, cause and condition, then paths and labels, right? So when we're talking about the view of emptiness, like Abjad Lama's students of Rinpoche always mentions, merely labeled, merely labeled, merely labeled. So the concept, you know, this is also a very, very profound concept in understanding what we say, non-conceptual view of things, because labels, we are very good, fast at labeling things, right? You know, you don't like someone's nose, then not a nice person. You know, you don't like someone's eye, oh, not a nice person. Or you don't like someone's hair, oh, not a nice person. Or you like someone's smile, oh, very nice person. So it happens very, very frequently and very fast, you know. So again, something to contemplate on, especially in regards to, you know, the placement of the mind in the practice of vipassana. Then arrive at certain what is certainty, clarity through logic, not just logic, like I said, contemplative, not just contemplative logic, but initializing logic, right? Initializing logic as in essence, right? We talk about essence. Conviction conviction is clear understanding, and oh yeah, it makes sense. That's conviction. I think. Then after, oh, it makes sense, then application is important, because oh, it makes sense, and non-application after that is, now you are very rusty in some form. But then when the step towards the application of that sensible thing happens, that's when you are making the conditions in order to move forward, right? So that's where I think the placement starts to happen. So arriving at clarity in the sense that you are using the clarity that you achieved into initializing. So once analysis brings conviction, then I think that's the point where you need to stop thinking. Yeah, you need to stop thinking about all of the different things that we talked about, and then come back to resetting. Yeah, non-conceptual sense of reality. That's where you start to, and what do you say, initialize the state of non-conventional sense of reality, I think. Or something like that, whether it makes sense or not. Then uh, uh, I think once you come to that state, then vipassana and shamatha need to happen, like what we say, alternatively. Yeah, it's like we example of, if you are if you are uh, uh, as human beings, we walk, and then we get tired, our legs start to hurt, then we need to sit. Yeah, we can't keep walking and walking and walking and walking. So it's like alternative between walking and sitting. So this is, I think, the process of reflection. Yeah, because if you overthink something, then sometime I think the problem is we arrive to the two extremes. Yeah, what is it? Mm, extremism and what is it? Nihilism, nihilism and extremism, I think they call it, right? So yeah, so sometime, huh?
Oh, I was saying nihilism and eternalism.
Yeah, it's eternalism. Yeah, so so nihilism and eternalism. So this is, I think, a state where we arrive in when the process of when you reach to that, when you are able to see the, what we say, conviction, then you're able to initialize the conviction, and then you're able to produce results based on the conviction. But then if you go searching beyond that conviction, then I think sometimes this one does tend to happen. So anyway, just something to be aware of. Like state of awareness is always is like a string. We always say, no, one string is, when you hang the cloth, then the string has to, as long as the as much cloth you have, the string has to be as long as that, right? So so when you're hanging cloth, then awareness is like the string. It has to go through all each and every cloth hanging, otherwise you're not drying the cloth. So awareness, the state of awareness is always through the, so this is, I think, mentioned in the lamrim. This is the state of awareness, has to glide through the whole process of drying. So yeah, so then of course, because of that, then this alternative needs to happen. Then the mind sees phenomena. I think sometimes if the mind is not reset in this, it's not alternating, then it starts to see illusions, dream, and then different kinds of reflections. uh, this can be both good and both bad. I mean, of course, like I said, if you go into extreme nihilism and internalism, then this reflection is not very useful as well. I see this and I see that and I see those and I see, you know then if it's not useful for your mind to calm down, then what's the point in seeing all of those things? Oh, I see Buddhas, I see angels, I see gods. Yeah, we see all of these things. Our mind tends to see all of those things, from time to time. We feel something. Oh, I feel, I feel the spirit, I feel ghost, I feel, I don't know what I feel. Then our mind tends to make up things. So sometimes these illusions also, if sort of like an side effect of being using too much eternalism in the aspect of practice. Then too much nihilism in the aspect of practice, then no self, no regards for the self, no regards for the point of being, no regards for the point of clear and awareness, so that you can use that. You need the ability to use the clear and knowing, the mind, the state of the mind to develop, Then instead of that, you stay curled up in the room, close all the windows, close all the doors. Then you see no, what we say, self esteem, self, what do you say, no self value, no self esteem. You know, it's a little bit dangerous also to go into that state. So that's why the was the alternative state of coming into practice, going, like I said, walking and sitting, that needs to happen because of these states can be a little bit dangerous for the mind and for the practice. So uh, I think the balance between strong uh, clinginess and the balance between uh, what do we say, non uh, non what do we say, no regards for the self. So these two things, yeah, needs to balance. Joy in wisdom suppressing ordinary meditative bliss. Yeah, so we have ordinary meditative bliss and then arises from these kinds of states. So if you indulge in the meditative bliss in those states and you become too indulged, then extremism sometimes becomes the what we say, the result. So I think the main point on all of those, like Lama Tsongkhapa in the Lamrim Chimbo mentions, when karma abiding is conjoined with special insight, the power of wisdom, what we say, slashes through what we say, subtle obscurations. Uh, I think the example is, the shepherd's sword wielding, what is it? What do we say, sword building with strength, and what do we say, I don't know the word, anyway I can't remember the exact English translation, but something like that. So being able to unify between shamatha and vipassana, yeah, alternatively, this is, I think, the unification of the practice of wisdom, meditative state, wisdom of meditative state. So, of course, shamatha alone brings temporary peace, but not liberation. Yeah, liberation doesn't come from shamatha. Then vipassana without stability becomes what we say, weak liberation sort of thing. Not exact liberation, but sort of like a weak mental state, a very weak mental state that you cannot manage. So vipassana without stability, sort of like not stable itself. So um, their union creates the third wisdom, uh, calm yet sort of like precise, penetrating, stable yet stable and very very glowing. Yeah. So this is the, I think, mentioned in the Lamrim, unification of the two. So far we are doing good. Yeah. So another point when it comes to the application of vipassana is not to challenge the mind; it's to condition the mind. Yeah, you need to understand every practice in Dharma is not to challenge the mind. You don't challenge the mind. Yeah, you uh, bring the right, what we say, right methods and the means to. If you have a very unstable kid, you don't challenge the kid. What happens when you have an unstable kid and you challenge the kid? Then the kid challenges back, right? When the kid challenges back, then the kid becomes unable to handle, goes all over the place like this. Ah, then shows tantrum. Then, so we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that to our mind. Very harmful to do that to the mind. So instead of challenging the mind, yeah, you go down to the mind, complete the resources that are necessary to initialize stability in the mind. That's what we do. And that's the skillful means. So challenging the mind is more, I think, once you have developed great resiliency, they call it, I think. Yeah. When you have developed great resiliency through the practice of uh, what do we say, anyway, different practices, especially yogic charya practices, then you can challenge the mind, no problem. That's when the mind says, I'm ready to be challenged. That's when you challenge the mind. But without that, don't challenge the mind. The mind is not to be challenged. The mind is to be subdued. Yeah, you cannot subdue someone by challenging them, in the sense when the challenge when the mind itself is not ready to be challenged. Yeah, so the practice of vipassana and shamatha is to bring stability in the mind, not to challenge the mind. Yeah, challenge normally brings instability when the resources are not right. So keep that in mind, because what I see nowadays, a lot of promotions in regards to vipassana, especially vipassana, is challenge. Creating conditions for the mind, that extreme conditions for the mind, that the mind gets challenged. Then sometimes it's useful. Like I said, if you're in the right state of mind, then it's useful. But most times it affects, and the effect can be dangerous if you are not ready for the effects. So unless you're ready to be challenged, then keep uh, keep good distance, and also realizing that the true practice of shamatha and vipassana is not to challenge, but to resonate, but to condition. Yeah. So application of the three wisdoms, I think, like I said, wisdom, shut up, um, uh, is a very, very, very important resource that we can utilize, uh, especially in regards to practice. We're talking about deep practice, then especially in practice of the bodhisattva's way. Um, and then also bringing the mind to the state where it realizes non-duality, where it realizes equanimity, where it realizes a non-conventional perception. Yeah, the state of non-conceptual perception, very, very fine way of reaching that state. But other than that, I think mainly the practice of shamatha and vipassana go together in every stage of practice. So uh, I think sometimes a lot of people, not knowing that is shamatha and practice of shamatha and vipassana, they still do it, uh, just not aware of it. So uh, flexibility important in practice, uh, application of the methods, uh, the core intentions and the core, what do we say, process of logic and reasoning, the core process of contemplation, uh, remains in the essence of the topics that we mentioned yesterday. I mean, the topics that we mentioned in the last session, especially in regards to that. I think the uh, four empowerments, right? Was impermanence, selflessness, emptiness, and dependent origination. The view of emptiness and the dependent origination, it relies on that, and that too very closely linked with the three principal aspects of the path, especially in regards to myself. I would say renunciation. Not in the concept like we talked earlier, not in the concept that, oh, you need to renounce life, you need to give up everything, no money, no food, no nothing. Not like, not the mistake that Shakyamuni Buddha did by going 6 years without eating, eating just one grain of rice a day or something like that, and starving himself to skin and bones. So not that method. Yeah, Buddha very clearly not just taught but also showed as an example that that is not the method. So we need to be very clear that that's not the method of renunciation. Renunciation is being able to see true freedom by realizing karma. So we go to that. So everyone ready now? uh, yeah, I think most. I think the most important aspect that we lack in is truly loving ourselves. Yeah, we need to love ourselves enough to really put ourselves through a compassionate, meaningful, logical means to liberation. We cannot strive ourselves of everything that we have just to achieve something that uh, at the end we are not going to enjoy. So liberation has to do with joy and peace. This is why His Holiness always mentions, no matter what religion, at the end of the day, what we want is we want peace and joy and happiness. And the true nature of the mind is also same with all beings, no matter whether it be human beings or animals or whatever, always wants what do we say, happiness, right? So because that is the aspect of our mind, then we need to be gentle enough, kind enough, compassionate enough, of course to others, but also to ourselves, that we see that this is what we require in order to be enlightened. Okay, we did good. We did very good. Little over time, sorry. So yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this month's course, and I think, of course, you have a lot of work to do in regards to this month's course as well. That Venerable Dundup very kindly created for all of us. So keep continuing. I think even in the first course, I hope the continuity is there. Continuity is extremely important. Be compassionate to yourself and know that it's necessary to develop in that sense. So, so please continue with that. And maybe if you want, I have one more week. Next week, I'm still available. So if you want to do question answers, discussion, or something like that, then we can do next week. But you might need to reach. Is it Sheila or Venerable Dundup or someone in regards to that? Yeah.
Venerable
Um,
Dendra.
yeah. So Venerable Dundup. So if possible, then we do that, because I think. Like and I also need to live up to what I say. I always say, oh, need to answer a question, need to, but then if I'm not applying, then might not be the right thing. So anyway, this is one thing I think we can do. Um, uh, then you can bring out all your doubts and all your questions, and you can debate with me, and I think I'm ready for the challenge. So so we open we open it up for challenge. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy. And like I said, motivation is always development. Motivate yourself to be to reach development, change in the mindset and in the concept and the perception that we have, right? So then life becomes easier, thought becomes easier, acceptance becomes easier, forgiveness becomes easier. And through all of that becoming easier, then of course compassion also becomes easier. Then when compassion becomes easier, then achievement also becomes easier. So one thing leads to another. Yeah. Okay. Chanchosim Rinpoche, Maje Panam Chegyose, Yawanya Pame Panya, Kone Kondo Pewa Sho, Tonyin Tawa Rinpoche, Maje Panam Chegyose, Yawanya Pame Panya, Kone Kondo Pewa Sho, Dinke Tsude Keme Tsune Nabat, Losame Pes, Sute Varu. Okay, thank you so much.